White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre has one job. Her job is to say nice things, true or false, about the Biden-Harris administration. She was asked to name one good thing that Kamala Harris has done as vice president. Here's her answer.
What does the president see as the vice president's biggest achievement during their time in office together?
So look, because they've been partners, those achievements have been done, certainly those historic, unprecedented achievements have been done together. I'll say this, the president believes in the vice president leadership, her temperament, her experience, and he has said this himself. One of the proudest decisions that he made in 2020 was selecting her as vice president because he believed that she can go on day one. And you've seen them do that together on day one of this administration. That doesn't change. I'm not going to parse out anything from here. They have been partners. She's been a critical partner for this president for during this term, and will continue to do so. You will see them together on Thursday in Maryland, where they would talk about their next announcement on lowering costs for the American people.
Oh yeah. So good. All the good things with Kamala. Yeah. Oh, where do I begin? Because she is vice president, and Biden was really happy to make her vice president. He said that. He said how happy he was to do that. And she has been that. Look, I'm not going to parse out like good things she's done. I'm not going to answer your very simple question. Not one thing. Kamala Harris has been VP for 3.5 years. She is currently the Democrat nominee for president. The top propagandist, official propagandist for her administration, was asked to name just one achievement, and she couldn't do it because it's not possible. I'm Michael Knowles. This is The Michael Knowles Show. Welcome back to the show. There's a new Chinese study out that shows classical music treats depression. We'll get to what that means. Plato has never been more vindicated. First, though, you know what else will treat your depression? Listen, I'm not a doctor. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. The Michael Knowles Show candles. That'll do that. It certainly makes me less depressed, makes me positively buoyant. You can have a Sicilian summer right now. That's right. The Sicilian summer remains underway. We have 1 month of it left, even maybe a little bit less than a month. Ooh, yikes, guys, only 3 weeks left of the Sicilian summer. Make sure you get your seasonal Michael Knowles Show candle. You can also get the Wise Man. That is, of course, the latest iteration of the Smells and Bells candle. Make your home smell like a 12th century monastery. You can get the Crème de la Crème. You can get the Old Soul. You can get PSL. It's a little early for that. Maybe stock up now so you're ready in a few weeks. You can get the Mayflower line of candles, very high-end candles and beautiful. We would say glass jars, or rather colored glass jars. Now we're supposed to say glass jars of color. But in any case, you can get all of that at thecandleclub.com. Don't forget thecandleclub.com. 3.5 years in office. We're told Kamala is an equal partner. She gets credit for all the wonderful things Joe Biden's done, and yet we can't hear one single achievement under Kamala Harris's belt. Even the establishment media, so beyond the official top propagandist at the White House, the establishment media, they're doing anything they can to say, wow, look at how great Kamala Harris is at being president, or at least vice president. They got nothing. So all they can focus on is her promises. I kid you not, Politico ran this headline just a few days ago. Harris promises to go tough on border security. And then this big, beautiful picture of Kamala at a stadium, largely filled, though you can see some of the seats are kind of blacked out there, but largely filled. There she is. And this is the vision for America's future. Kamala promises to go tough on border security. Kamala Harris is currently the White House border czar. She's currently the vice president. We are told that she's a partner with Joe Biden, so she seems to have some authority just generally. But Biden specifically appointed her border czar. If Kamala Harris wanted to, she could more or less end illegal immigration today. She at least has the authority to do that. I don't know that she's competent enough to do that. I know she does not want to do that, but she at least has the presidential authority. Biden gave her that authority. On March 24th, 2021, I'm reading from a White House transcript, Kamala, is leading the effort because I think the best thing to do is put someone who, when he or she speaks, they don't have to wonder about, is that where the president is? When she speaks for me. Doesn't have to check with me. She knows what she's doing, and I hope we can move this along. But so, Madam Vice President, thank you. I gave you a tough job, and you're smiling, but there's no one better capable of trying to organize this for us. Joe Biden gave her presidential authority to deal with the border crisis. She hasn't done that. She could still do it today. She is still the border czar. She doesn't want to do it. But don't worry, if you make her president, if you give her a promotion so she has officially the power that she has de facto right now, don't worry, then she'll do a complete 180. Absolutely pathetic stuff from Politico, but it will fool people who don't pay attention to alternative sources of news. Meanwhile, President Trump is back on X. I'm so happy about this. I'm happy, one, because President Trump is the greatest tweeter in the history of the platform. We don't have time to go through all of the tweets about the haters and the losers and their low IQ and Robert Pattinson and all the rest of it. And the big nuclear button that's bigger than Kim Jong-un's button. And we don't have time to go through all of that. President Trump has had some wonderful tweets over the years, no question about it. But he's back on X. And the deeper reason this is a good thing is X is the only big platform that is not completely dominated by the left in the public square. It's the only one. You might say, what about the DailyWire? What about Fox News? What about The Blaze? What about a handful of other? Yes, those are all news networks, but they're not platforms in the public square. We exist in the public square, meaning like we participate in the public square, but Twitter, Facebook, Google actually constitute the public square. So when all of those are dominated by the left, we just get squeezed out. Sometimes they let us in a little bit, but when push comes to shove, they squeeze us out when it's really crucial. Elon went in and for $44 billion bought a tiny little piece, the smallest piece of that public square, and he's letting conservatives speak there. And so Trump has to be there. This is the one place we get to bypass the establishment media. So Trump returned to Twitter with great fanfare through a Twitter Spaces with Elon Musk.
Biden actually did something that was impossible. Both sides hate him, both sides. Yeah. That was a hard thing to do, unification.
So it's Trump, he's sitting in Mar-a-Lago. He's got his phone out just like anyone doing a Twitter Spaces, and he's just talking to Elon. He goes, look, Biden, you got to give him credit. He did something that's very hard. Everyone hates him. He brought both sides together. Funny line. There were a lot of great zingers. This thing went on forever. Say what you will about Trump. There's no way Biden could have done this. Biden was asleep before this Twitter Spaces began. And there's no way Kamala could have done this. There's no way Kamala could have done a Twitter Space for longer than 10 minutes without seriously undermining her own campaign. She's just not quick enough on her feet. She doesn't have the stamina or the acuity to do it. Trump can do it. Trump can just riff. I mean, the thing went for like 2 hours or something. And Trump made some sober and important points. I thought the most important point in the entire X space was a point about a future campaign rally he's going to hold.
What were you about to say about illegal immigration before you were rudely interrupted?
Well, I was going to say how good the numbers were. By the way, we're going back to Butler. And we're going to go back in October. We're all set up, and the people are fantastic in Butler. It's a great area. These are incredible people. Like the three that, in the case of Corey killed, and the other two, the families I got to know them a little bit, and the families are great. But we're going back to Butler, and I think I'll probably start by saying, as I was saying, prior to being so horribly interrupted.
Yeah.
But
so rudely interrupted by an assassination attempt.
Trump is going back to Butler, Pennsylvania, where an assassin came within a hair's breadth of blowing his brains out. And the only reason that the assassin didn't succeed is because, totally unexpectedly, Trump turned his head at the very last minute to look at a chart about illegal immigration. This is really important and courageous that Trump is going back to Butler. The reason is that the left wants to memory hold the assassination attempt. There are a lot of questions about the assassination attempt. How on earth did the assassin have that opportunity? Why, after the assassin was called in, was he up there for minutes longer? Why was Trump not pulled from the stage? Why was Trump allowed to go out on stage in the first place when the Secret Service were already paying attention to this guy? He was already on their radar. Why? How was that building not secure where the assassin was able to climb up onto the roof? Here's an important question. Why did the FBI lie about it afterward? Why did the director of the FBI come out and suggest that it wasn't a bullet that hit Trump in the ear? Later on, the FBI undermined their own FBI director and said, no, there was never any question. It was obviously a bullet that hit his ear. So why did the FBI director lie about that according to the FBI? Maybe he just was completely wrong. Maybe Chris Wray is just completely checked out. That seems less likely to me. Why did the Secret Service lie about Trump's team requesting additional security? Why did the FBI potentially lie again and say that this shooter had a very right-wing Twitter or right-wing social media account when the owner of that social media platform came out and said, no, we have the data. We've complied with the FBI here, but it was a left-wing account. Why? All sorts of questions that are being memory holed right now. Trump needs to bring attention back to those questions. And so that's part of portraying the nefarious nature of his own opponents. But there's a flip side to going back to Butler, Pennsylvania, which is it shows tenacity. It shows courage. It shows how close America came to a national trauma. And it shows how tough Trump is, how he's going to fight through anything, he's not going to back down, and he's going to give us a good vision of our political future. And that's really important because Trump is good on the specifics. Trump is good. When you hear him talk about, we're going to build the wall, we like that. When you hear him talk about how he's going to deport foreigners who should not be in this country, we like that. When you hear Trump talk about how we're going to have good American traditions again, and we're going to have good American families and safe communities. We're going to bring jobs back. We're going to have peace overseas. That's all good stuff. But even better than the specifics of the Trump campaign are what that campaign represents. The Trump campaign has been able to pull in so many people from so many different backgrounds because he is not just running against Joe Biden or now just running against Kamala Harris. Trump is viewed as running against a whole corrupt system. Trump is such an outsider. He represents such a threat to the entrenched Washington system that the liberal establishment will try to kick him off the ballot to prevent people from voting for him because he's the most popular presidential candidate. They'll try to prosecute him. They'll try to throw him in jail. Unprecedented for a major party nominee. They'll send their jackbooted thugs to go raid his house as a former president and leading presidential candidate. And oh yeah, they'll, at the very least, establish the premise that would justify assassinating him. When we use common terms to describe that fact, we call that, they try to kill him. Okay? And that is what is most inspiring about Trump. If all the worst people in the world are against this guy, he must be doing something right. That sinks through. For ordinary voters who maybe don't pay attention to every nuance of entitlement policy, every little nuance of foreign policy, every statute pertaining to the border and trade and manufacturing, it's an easy rule of thumb. And I use this rule of thumb, and especially people who don't spend their whole life in political news use this rule of thumb. If all the worst people in the world are doing every single thing in their power to stop this man from getting back into the White House, he must be doing something right. And that's what the Trump campaign needs to highlight. And by going back to Butler, Pennsylvania, you are shining the biggest spotlight in the world on just how many bad people so desperately want this man not to make it back to Washington, D.C. I want Trump's name in gold, not just in New York and Midtown, not just on Wall Street, not just at the Trump Hotel. Maybe it'll come back in Washington, D.C. I want gold in the White House. I want gold in your portfolio. That's why I want to tell you about Birch Gold. Text Knowles to 989898. Security is top of mind for many Americans during these crazy times. Security for our country, security for our leaders, and security for our families. But you are not financially secure if all your eggs are in one basket. Consider diversifying at least some of your savings today with the help of Birch Gold Group. Gold and silver are an excellent way to diversify your savings. They're a hedge against inflation, a physical asset that is in high demand globally. Through my friends at Birch Gold Group, you can own physical gold and silver in a tax-sheltered retirement account. That's right. You can diversify an old IRA or 401k for no money out of pocket into an IRA in gold and silver. This is just one thing you can do today to secure your family's savings. Text Knowles, Canada WLES, to 989898. Receive a free, no-obligation info kit to learn the role that precious metals play in your overall saving strategy. Text Knowles, Canada WLES, to 989898. With an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, thousands of happy customers, you can trust Birch Gold to help diversify your savings and secure your family's financial future today. Text Knowles, Canada WLES, to 989898. Now, we turn back to poor Karine Jean-Pierre, who's really, really having a rough week. Because the Harris campaign doesn't seem to have a lot of ideas. The Harris campaign can't even name a single accomplishment that she's achieved during her time as vice president. The Kamala campaign can't answer for all those old videos describing her as the most left-wing senator, most radical, wants Medicare for all, for illegal aliens, all sorts of really crazy stuff that voters don't like. So Kamala has an idea. She's finally got an idea, and her idea is no tax on tips. Now, I know what you're thinking. You might be scratching your head and saying, hold on, where have I heard this before? Wait, didn't Trump propose that a month or two ago? And then, well, hold on, now Kamala is proposing this as her own campaign proposal. Hold on. Karine Jean-Pierre, White House press secretary, was asked about the no tax on tips proposal suddenly from the Democrats. Here's what she says about where it came from.
So following up on eliminating taxes on tips, is that an idea that the Biden administration considered at any point in the past 3.5 years?
What I can say is the president supports it. And what I can say is obviously the president and the vice president, very much how I answered the earlier question, is that we have always put at front and center making it easier, giving American families a little bit more breathing room, something the president says very often. And we've shown that. We've shown that in the policies that we've laid out. And, you know, not going to go into what the former president said, but, you know, if Republicans truly cared about that, truly cared about hardworking Americans, they would have joined us on a lot of these proposals that we put forward.
So it's a new idea.
Obviously it's a new idea. I'm just saying that we support it.
No, it's actually not a new idea. It was a new idea when Trump suggested it a few weeks ago. Now it's an old idea that you're stealing from Trump. The best idea that Biden and Harris have right now is just stealing Trump's ideas. This actually is the clearest evidence that Kamala Harris really is a lot like Joe Biden. She's also a plagiarist. That's amazing. She's just checking over the Trump campaign's notes. Hey, Donald, what was that? She's, no tax. Yeah, sure. No tax on tips. What a great idea. Kamala put this in her own words. Kamala was at a speech. She didn't even try to change the wording on it.
And eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers.
How long before Kamala Harris says she's going to build the wall? I guess actually she's already doing that because Politico is saying Kamala's going to get tough on border security. Obviously, she's not. She's currently in charge of border security, and she won't do it. She's allowing in more illegal aliens than ever before in all of American history by a country mile. Yeah, but it worked pretty well for Trump. Whatever. Pretty soon, Kamala's going to dye her hair blonde. She's going to start wearing red power ties. Boy, this doesn't seem to suggest that the Kamala campaign is quite as confident as the media are portraying it. If the Kamala campaign were really doing as well as we're seeing in all the establishment news reports, why would she be pivoting to steal Trump's whole campaign? Up to and including now, no tax on tips. President Trump addressed this last night with Elon Musk.
He's making a speech and there will be no tax on tips. I said that months ago. And by the way, they had just the opposite. You know, they had not only tax on tips, but they hired 88,000 IRS agents, and many of them were assigned to go get waitresses and caddies and all of this on tips. They have a policy. They had a policy that they were really going to go after you and were really harassing people horribly. And then all of a sudden, for politics, she says, she comes out with what I said, which I think is terrible. And I think it's also hitting them very hard. These people are fake.
These people are fake. And Trump, whatever you want to say about him, the guy isn't fake. So he mentions there that, hold on, the Democrats were for taxing tips. Well, it's even worse than that. The Biden campaign the Biden White House, rather, in 2022, passed legislation that would make it easier for the IRS in the future to tax tips. And not only was it the Biden administration and Senate Democrats, VP Kamala Harris voted to pass that legislation because the vice president is president of the Senate. So she cast the tie-breaking vote. She is responsible for this. In 2022, she passed the ridiculously named Inflation Reduction Act that provided $80 billion in additional funding to the IRS, which then went to work cracking down on service industry reporting of tips so that they could be taxed. Not only has Kamala not done anything that she's proposing while she has had power as vice president and president of the Senate, the things that she has done are the exact opposite of the policy she now pretends to support, the policy that she stole verbatim from Donald Trump. Now, speaking of keeping more money, you ought to check out Done with Debt. Go to donewithdebt.com. If you're one of millions of Americans being crushed with financial stress right now, the solution is donewithdebt.com. Done with Debt has created new aggressive strategies designed to get you out of debt permanently without bankruptcy or loans. Done with Debt stands between you and bill collectors. They negotiate with your creditors to write off balances, cut interest, and stop penalties. They have a plan to put more money in your pocket month one and every month until your debt is gone. And the best news is, Done with Debt is accepting new clients right now. You need to hurry because some of their debt strategies are time sensitive and you do not want to miss out. Let Done with Debt hit the debt reset button for you and make your money yours again. But time is urgent. This is a time sensitive matter, so you need to visit donewithdebt.com or call 1-888-322-1054 right now. Chat with one of their debt relief strategists for free. Go to donewithdebt.com. That's DONEWITHDEBT, donewithdebt.com. Meanwhile, Joe Biden is doubling down on the only campaign line that really consistently works for Democrats. And that campaign line, coincidentally, is the one that nearly got Trump killed.
Now, with Trump attempting to return to the White House, Biden is sounding the alarm in a way sitting presidents rarely, if ever, do.
The stakes are that high to you?
Give me my word. I think they're that high. Mark my words. If he wins this this election, watch what happens. It's a danger. He's a genuine danger to American security.
Donald Trump is a genuine danger to American security. This is not, I disagree with Trump. This is not, his policies will be bad for America. This is, no. This is not like anything we've heard before in our lifetimes politically. This man in his person poses a genuine threat. At other times, we've heard Biden describe this as an existential threat to American security, to the country, to our sacred democracy. This remains in line with the notion that Trump is Hitler or that Trump admires Hitler, or Trump wants to be the next Hitler. This is the line that nearly got Trump's head blown off because it established the premise that would justify assassination. Donald Trump is not a genuine threat to American security. Joe Biden is a genuine threat to Trump's security. The Democrats for sure are a threat to Trump's security. Don't forget, Benny Thompson, Democrat in the House, tried to strip President Trump of his Secret Service protection. Not that the Secret Service protection was apparently all that effective in Butler, Pennsylvania, when a guy almost blew his head off, came within a hair's breadth. But the Democrats in the House were trying to strip him of what Secret Service protection he had. The Biden administration denied Trump the additional security that he requested. And now Biden, even after the assassination attempt, is doubling down and saying this man poses a genuine threat to America, an existential threat. which is synonymous with saying you are justified in trying to kill him. If someone poses an existential threat to you, you are justified in self-defense to stop that threat. And it would seem to me in the popular consciousness, if you say so-and-so is Hitler, that is a justification to kill that person, unless you believe we ought to go soft on Hitler, which no one does. That's not what Hitler means in the popular consciousness. But that, by the way, that's exactly what the Kamala campaign is doing. The Kamala HQ just doubled down on the very fine people hoax. Kamala HQ, which has lied about me personally a number of times. The other day, Kamala HQ, this is the big Kamala Harris campaign account, tweeted out, said, top Trump operative Michael Knowles joins with Project 2025 to implement something. I don't know. I said something probably totally normal, like dudes and chicks are different or something. I don't remember exactly what I said. And it's a top Trump operative working with Project 2025 said common sense thing. And I thought, well, I'm not a Trump operative. I don't work for President Trump in his private enterprise. I don't work for the Trump campaign. I support President Trump. I'm a big supporter. I will gladly do what I can to help him win the White House, but I don't work for him. I'm not a political operative for him. I don't work with Project 2025. I like Project 2025. I think it's great. Big fan. Heritage Foundation doing great stuff. I have no, check my taxes. I have no affiliation with Project 2025 other than I like them, and I think they're doing good stuff. So it's total lies. And so unsurprising that they're spreading another lie. Kamala HQ says 7 years ago today, white supremacists and neo-Nazis marched on Charlottesville, chanting racist and anti-Semitic bile and killing an innocent woman. This is who Donald Trump calls very fine people. Of course, he did not. We've played the clip on the show a zillion times. I won't even waste your time playing it again. President Trump, when he used that phrase, very fine people, he specifically excluded white supremacists and neo-Nazis who should be condemned totally. His words. Said it a sentence or two later, so it's not even as though you could say, well, he said it so much later that we just got a little clip. No, the clip was intentionally taken to exclude what Trump said about neo-Nazis and white supremacists. Doesn't matter though. They're going to lie. Of course, they're going to lie. But recall that this is not just a lie like the usual fare that we get in politics on both sides. Exaggerations, even outright lies about, a candidate's qualifications or background or something. This is a lie that justifies assassinating Trump. If Trump's Hitler, you're justified in assassinating him. If Trump poses an existential threat, you're justified in assassinating him. When Joe Biden and Kamala Harris continue to peddle both of those premises, they are actively trying to kill Donald Trump. Simple as. Now, listening to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris is rather depressing, which is why perhaps one ought to listen to classical music. This is based on a study just came out of China. The Shanghai Jiaotong University School of Medicine has discovered, and this is a study published in Cell Reports, that patients with a treatment-resistant depression sometimes appear to improve by listening to classical music. The study even found that patients who were initially unresponsive to this classical music treatment could benefit from it if they were given auditory entrainment. So by fine-tuning the music, by incorporating specific sound frequencies into the music, researchers were able to tune the patient's brains, just as you would tune an instrument, to be more receptive to the classical music that would then boost their mood. Plato is totally vindicated. What I love about reading these modern studies, because contrary to what the libs say about conservatives, I like science in as much as I like learning the truth about creation. A lot of modern science doesn't teach you the truth, but when science is done well, it teaches you the truth about creation, which is good because God made creation. And so we can learn about God from the created world, just as we can learn about Shakespeare by reading Hamlet. You can learn about a creator or an author or an artist or so by reading a biography of that person, but you can also read about an artist, a master creator, a writer, by reading that person's works. Actually, sometimes the works are more illustrative. This is a point made recently quite well by the Thomistic Institute. So I like that. And specifically what I like is when science shows that everything we've always known for thousands and thousands of years, it remains true. And this is one of those examples, because if we go all the way back, before modern science, before Dr. Fauci, before lab coats, before the Enlightenment, before the scientific revolution, whatever, go all the way back to good old Plato, Book 3 of the Republic. What does he tell us? He says, education in music is most sovereign because more than anything else, rhythm and harmony find their way to the inmost soul and take strongest hold upon it, bringing with them and imparting grace if one is rightly trained, and otherwise the contrary. There is not one word in this scientific study that probably cost a lot of money coming out of the Shanghai Jiaotong University that says anything truer, anything even more precise than what Plato said thousands of years ago. Because notice what he says. He says, music is so important. Education in music is the most sovereign form of education because music cuts past the rational faculties right to the soul, takes the strongest hold upon it. And it can bring with, and it can impart grace. It can make you lighter, happier, more conducive to flourishing. And then it goes even further, if one is rightly trained. So that's the part in the study where it says, look, sometimes people's brains weren't totally receptive, so you actually had to fine-tune the brain. Plato was saying that thousands of years ago. He said every single thing these Chinese scientists discovered, Plato knew thousands of years ago. So you have Plato vindicated yet again, but you have conservatism vindicated yet again. Because this is yet another example in a kind of far-flung aspect of modern scientific inquiry. Yet another example of the wisdom of the ages being proven true. Turns out that in the past, people weren't just totally wrong. And it turns out that we're not all that much smarter than the people in the past. Actually, it turns out that the wisdom of the ages that has endured through all of that time is almost certainly correct. And the novelties that we stumble upon in our pride are usually false, except when they affirm the wisdom of the ages. At least 97% of the time. Here's another weird study. I was going down a little weird study rabbit trail. Okay, here's a weird one. Our faces apparently grow to match our names. This is from an Israeli university, Reichman University. Asked participants, they gave them a bunch of pictures and names, and they said, we need you to match the face to the name. And the study found out participants could accurately match adult faces to corresponding names, but struggled matching children's faces to names. So if it were just adult faces to names, you'd say, okay, well, I don't know. Maybe, I haven't looked at the study. Maybe there's a Chinese guy and a black guy, and the two names, they say, okay, match the names, Xi Xinghu and Deshawn. Okay, which one is it? You could probably figure it out just from cultural, ethnic, racial factors. But what they found here is, and I assume they controlled for that, what they found here is, and in fact, I know they controlled for it because the participants were mostly Israeli and white people. So Jews who were largely white and generically white people. And so, the names could have applied to multiple people. But the fact that they could match the adult names and not the children's names led to this conclusion, which is that our faces grow to match our names, which strikes me anecdotally is true. You just kind of see that. You say, oh yeah, he looks like a Mark. That guy, oh, he totally looks like a Keith or whatever. And anthropologically, it seems accurate too. And the reason for this is, contrary to what the libs say, that we're all just individuals, we're all just our special individuals, and we're totally untouched by society, and we just have to dig in to be our true selves, man. Break the chains of the repressive society, man. It turns out we're actually formed by social and political circumstances. We got Plato vindicated by science. We have Edmund Burke and Aristotle and Plato, actually. Plato's having a great day. Actually, all the classical thinkers, and even more broadly, the conservative thinkers, totally vindicated by modern science. Libs owned yet again by ancient Greeks and others. The same guys that brought you What is a Woman are back. Get ready for Am I Racist? Hitting theaters September 13th. Our very own Matt Walsh went undercover as a so-called DEI expert. Pre-sale tickets drop this Thursday. The more tickets we sell now, the more theaters will show it. Get pre-sale tickets at amiracist.com. My favorite comment yesterday is from Miss Begotten, who says, this is a quote, "You can't criticize pedophiles on YouTube." Jordan Peterson. I didn't know Jordan said that specifically, but it's true. They probably even bleeped out that word. Some people yesterday were upset because a lot of my show was censored. Like the audio would just dip out on YouTube. I don't know what to tell you guys. They are partners in the big tech space, specifically a certain major video platform, censor basic true things and require us to censor basic true things to keep our channel. That's just how it works. That's not the case on X. It's not the case on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, but that is the case on YouTube. That's how it goes. So that's all the more reason to say, if you want to watch the whole show and you don't want to have to read between the lips and the lines and the audio dips, you should subscribe to DailyWire Plus, and you ought to check it out on other platforms as well. Now, speaking of faces growing over time and appearances and studies and growing up, huge news story. Huge win. The American Society of Plastic Surgeons has just come out against Now, speaking of the government minding its own business, Tim Walz is doubling down on a campaign slogan, mind your own business. Mind your own business. Tim Walz has reiterated this campaign view at a rally with Kamala Harris.
Beat the hell out of him at the ballot box. Look, you and I, especially the gray hairs in the crowd, we know our relatives. Republicans used to be the people talking about freedom. Not this group. When they talk about freedom, it means that the government should be free to invade your exam room with your doctor. Look, in Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and the personal choices they make. We maybe wouldn't make the same choices, but we respect them. And I know in Minnesota and in Arizona and places across this country, you know what makes society work best? Is when you learn a golden rule. Mind your own damn business. Mind your own damn business. You don't need it.
Okay, you've heard this line before. He's trotting this line out all the time now. Tim Walz imposed a 95% tax on Zyn in Minnesota. You know Zyn, it's the little nicotine pouches. There's no tobacco in them, just nicotine, and all the right-wing frat boys and actually girls and a lot of people use occasionally. You know, I'm a social zinner. All right, I'm a lover. I'm a zinner. I'm a midnight toker. I don't know. I'm not. I'm actually not a midnight toker. Where was the mind your own business in that? Where was the Tim Walz speaks glowingly of socialism. Where is the mind your own damn business in any aspect of public policy other than making sure that parents can kill their babies and adults can scandalize kids with? Where is the, and there's not even mind your own damn business there. He's forcing that on kids and has consistently for 25 years. No. Do not mind your own damn business for the purpose of depriving you of your fruity little nicotine pouches. No, that is the government's business. But, you know, killing babies, that's, we gotta, come on, this overbearing federal government, we need deregulation here, don't we? It's the one issue we need deregulation on, according to Tim Walz. Today is Tee-Hee-Hee Tuesday. The rest of the show continues. Now, you don't want to miss it. Become a member. Use code Knowles at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans.
Republicans are Nazis. You cannot separate yourselves from the bad white people.
Growing up, I never thought much about race. It never really seemed to matter that much, at least not to me. Am I racist?
I would really appreciate it if you left.
I'm trying to learn. I'm on this journey. If I'm going to sort this out, I need to go deeper undercover.
They gonna say I'm racist.
Joining us now is Matt, certified DEI expert.
Here's my certification. And what you're doing is you're stretching out of your whiteness. This is more for you and less for you. Is America inherently racist?
The word inherent is challenging there.
I want to rename the George Washington Monument to the George Floyd Monument.
America is racist to its bones.
So inherently.
Yes, this country is a piece of shit.
White.
Folks.
White.
Trash. White supremacy. White woman. White boy.
Is there a black person around? There's a black person right here. Does he not exist? Hi, Robin.
Hi. What's your name?
I'm Matt.
I just had to ask who you are because you have to be careful.
Never be too careful.
They gonna say you racist.
In theaters September 13th, rated PG-13.